So we often hear from students that about their mental health and the barriers that creates for political engagement. If you're already feeling anxious, depressed, perhaps traumatized, depending on what's happened in your life, you're not, the idea of being civically engaged just seems like almost insurmountable task. So I wonder how you balance those things in your own life and how you counsel others to strike that balance between maintaining mental health while still being civically engaged and being part of our democracy.
Well, I think a lot of it for me, what it looks like is realizing the most important thing that I had to learn that took me a long time, it took years, was realizing that not all of this is on me, that there are, taking a break is not antithetical to making progress. It is actually it is a critical part of it, because if all movements are people. If those people are not taking care of themselves, the movement is not taking care of itself. But the beautiful thing about it being a movement is that it's a group of people, and it will still be a group of people if you take a day off, a year off, or a decade off. They will still be there, and then you can step in when you feel ready to, and that signals to other people that they can step out when they need to, so that no matter what, somebody is still there leading that charge. I know that I can take a break because, the organizers in March for Our Lives are doing the work every day to lead the fight on this, and some of those organizers know that they can take a break because I'm out here doing the work when they can't. And for those students that struggle with their mental health, that feel like it's just so insurmountable to make any amount of change, activism is not something, civic engagement is not something that you need to be engaged in 24/7. All I want from people, the best thing that you can do is literally take one day every 2 years and vote. It's not that complicated. If you do that, you're doing more than 50% of people, certainly 50% of young people in this country. And I don't care if you spend all those other days playing Fortnite or anything else. So long as you're voting, that is the bare minimum, and that is all I am asking of you. Now, if we can get even just 1% of people to go beyond that and show up at their legislature, that's more than 99% of people do. But if you show up there and you meet with these politicians, you say that you really need this legislation, and if you don't get it, that you're going to do everything in your power to make sure they are not reelected, and they feel the cultural movement of that people are upset, but they haven't lost faith in their government, that the people expect a government buy-in for the people, not special interests like the NRA, that they're expecting you to protect kids and not organizations like the National Rifle Association, that they're expecting you to protect things like the planet and not polluters like Shell, Chevron, and so many other of these corporations. Those politicians need to know that you are showing up, that you're going and knocking doors and putting the pressure on them. Because when you don't show up, you know who's going to? It's Shell. It's the NRA. It's different organizations like that have a massive profit incentive to effectively poison your water, threaten your life, and ensure that we live in an America where everybody is effectively forced to buy a firearm because we failed so epically at ensuring one of the main core tenets of our union, which is ensuring the domestic tranquility. And if just 1% of people can show up and just lobby or protest, you're doing more than 99% of people. And that just means showing up, one day every year on top of the one day I'm asking you to vote. And it's really not that complicated. The important thing is realizing, too, that this is not going to get solved in one election. This is not going to get solved by one person. It's going to get solved by all of us. If we really want to change this, it requires all of us being, not to sound cliche, but being the change that we want to see. And having the long view that while things feel really stagnant right now as a young person and can feel exhausting and like they're never going to change, guess what? You're going to outlive most of the people in your state legislature and Congress. Thank God. The question is, what are you going to do to make sure that future generations, that our generation doesn't become like those politicians that we are fighting so hard against right now? Because in many ways, that's actually what happened with the baby boomers, where they were a massive activist generation, and many of them did go on to serve as incredible leaders in our country. But unfortunately, we had far too few of them because many of them burnt out. Many of them got exhausted, and it's understandable. These movements are driven by trauma, but we have to know how to heal and still be activists and organizers at the same time. And it doesn't mean that you need to be on the road every single day doing this. Most people cannot do that. Most people should not do that. All you need to do is either vote every chance that you get, and then anything beyond that, it's just more added support there.